to episode number 11 of The Daily Dog. I'm your host, Britton Hess, and I'm here to give you my 3 favorite Underdog fantasy plays on Monday, June 17th, 2024. If you're new to Underdog Fantasy, use promo code DAILYDOG. Again, that's promo code DAILYDOG at UnderdogFantasy.com or on the Underdog app. It's so good, the Underdog cat wants to get on the action. So let's go and look at last week. Last week we kind of got our teeth kicked in. It was a bit of a tough week, some bad luck, some just picks that didn't come through. But when you're putting out 3-leg slips every day, that is bound to happen. I think we're down like 1 unit for the 10 episodes on this show, so nothing too crazy. And if you're getting some of my picks that I throw out on Twitter, you are still above water, I would assume, unless you're rocking $500,000 units every time I say something, which I doubt most of you are. Most of us are doing this just for fun, which is what I would recommend, especially when you're doing these high variance slips that include 3 legs. So on Friday, we nailed Luis Castillo lower than 5.5 hits against the Rangers. It was too high. I don't know why the Rangers hit numbers are so high. Just the way that the team swings, they're all going for the fences. There's a lot of outs for pitchers. So yeah, that was nice to get that one to be nailed after we couldn't use him on Thursday because he was scratched late, but we all know how that went against the White Sox. Then we also had O'Neal Cruz total bases on Friday against the Rockies. He got scratched from that game, which was quite annoying. So we would have won our 2-leg slip if Dansby Swanson could have actually hit the ball against the Cardinals on Friday morning day game, but he did not do that. So the slip lost. It was quite unfortunate, but it is what it is. Dansby had a great success rate in that matchup in the past, but he did not deliver for us when we needed it most. So we'll live to fight another day. But that's enough for living in the past. Let's move on to Monday. So I really wanted to play Kylian Mbappe of France in Euro 2024 over half a goal over assist because in Euros 2020, they were eliminated in the second round, France was, and he did not score a point. I think that weighs on him and he wants to do something. However, that market is no longer available on Underdog. If it pops back up, I would recommend throwing it in a slip, but it's not there, so we can't play it. That said, we're going to go back to baseball, our bread and butter, and do what we do best on this show, which is pick off props or make picks on pitchers and hitters. So we're going to do one that I haven't, a type of pick that I haven't released on the show yet, which is a walks allowed prop. I'm targeting Nick Pivetta to allow higher than 1.5 walks against the Toronto Blue Jays. On a baseline stat, he's walked 7 of these guys in the lineup for the Blue Jays in his career. It's a divisional matchup, so there's a lot of familiarity there. And in 15 career games versus the Blue Jays, Pivetta has walked higher than 1.5 batters 12 times. In the past 2 seasons, so it's back to 2022, he's allowed 1.5 walks in 6 of 8 games. Moreover, a lot of these Blue Jays have seen Pivetta before, as I alluded to. They all have a lot of them have solid contact rates against him, which means that he might be trying to reach for some swings and mitches at the edge of the zone. If we get a bad ump, that could definitely affect things. But also I think that handicapping umps is a good thing for huge, big picture stuff. But on a game-to-game basis, these guys are usually quite inconsistent. The Blue Jays are there. Pivetta's K rate is just 7%, which looks really good. However, in his first 5 starts of the season, he allowed a total of 2 walks. In his last 4 games, he's allowed 11 walks and 2+ in all of those games. So that rate might be a little bit misleading. Also, considering his career walk rate is about half a point, 0.6, 0.7 points higher than what it is this season. He's due to regress, and it's kind of been happening in bunches lately. And I think there's a good chance it happens again on Monday. Sportsbooks, I like to look at the sportsbook odds for some of this stuff. They're still juiced to under 1.5 walks for him, but again, I think that's going to change by the time these games tip off, or not tip off, the first pitch is thrown, because, like I said, if you look beyond just his raw K percentage, it does seem to be trending in the wrong direction, or his raw walk percentage, it's definitely trending in the wrong direction. And like I said, a lot of these Blue Jays, they're not the greatest average and BABIP team, but versus righties, they're number 7 in the league in walk rate. So it's a good matchup for him to go over 1.5 walks allowed. That is enough Pivetta talk. Let's go on to the highest profile pitcher on the day. I mean, it's probably not true. He's a rookie, but the most hyped pitcher, Paul Skenes versus the Reds. And I am not taking Paul Skenes. I'm taking Carson Spiers, the Reds starting pitcher, who has seen action in 5 games so far this year, all coming out of the bullpen. He's getting his first start of the season. But last game, he did go 5.1 innings in relief of Frankie Montas and had 7 strikeouts and allowed 4 hits in that run. I don't know if the Reds are really going to rush to make Spiers go 6 innings in this game, because their bullpen usage over the weekend was fine. It wasn't anything excessive. A few guys got into the 20s for pitches on Sunday, but it was 2 guys like Sam Maul threw I think 7 pitches. So there should be some fresh arms, because they used, like I said, they used 3 bullpen pitchers on Sunday, but a majority of those were 2 guys that were fresh, and then they were able to rest the guys that they used heavily on Saturday. And I just don't know if there's 2 things that can happen for this pick to come through. One, Spiers can dominate the Pirates, which is obviously quite viable considering he's a righty, and the Pirates are not great against righties. They strike out a ton. What is it? I don't know. Let's see. Is it... They're the number 5 highest K rate versus righties, and they're number 27 in average. So it's definitely a soft landing spot for Spiers in his first start of the year. And the other thing that can happen is, if he dominates, he can keep them under 5 hits allowed. Sorry, I don't even know if I said it, but the play is Spiers under 5 hits allowed against the Pirates. So he can dominate the Pirates and stay under 5, or he could get shelled in the first 3 innings and get pulled, if there's a couple home runs and he gives up, 4 hits, 4 earned runs in 3 innings, then, things could be it could lead to him having a short day. And as I said, the pen should be fairly fresh for the Reds in this game. So I don't think they're going to let him suffer. Next, we're going to go to Detroit Tigers against the Atlanta Braves. If you remember last week, I went on a long diatribe about targeting Mark Canha and Matt Vierling versus lefties, and we ended up putting Vierling on our slip. Of course, he didn't come home, but Canha did, so it was kind of one of those neck and neck. I have to choose one situations, and the one I chose was wrong. I'm not doing that on Monday because Canha only needs half of a total base and Vierling needs 1.5 total bases. I would obviously rather just rely on the guy to get 1 knock, even if it's a reduced multiplier, than trying to expect a double or multiple singles or a home run or a triple or anything else like that. I'd like to keep it simple with Canha. His bat has been hot lately. In his last 20 games, he's got a hit in 15 of those 20. In his last 10, he's got 7 of 10 in 4 of his last 5 games. So trending in the right direction. And by the way, over that 20-game span where there's 5 where he didn't get a hit, 4 of those games started were against righty pitchers. So it was definitely not in his favor. His splits are about 20, 25 points better for matchups versus lefties like Max Fried. So I definitely think that Canha has a great shot in this one. Also, Fried has been giving up hits lately despite having a solid 3.2 ERA. You might think, oh yeah, he's dominating, but his last 5 starts, he's allowed 6, 4, 7, 3, and 9 hits. So 2 pretty solid games and 3 not so great games in that 5-game span. Obviously, the 5-game sample doesn't tell the whole story, but it's not Max Fried who's knocking down the door for a Cy Young this year. He can definitely be hit, and in an advantageous matchup like this one for Canha, I'll take him. And also, it doesn't hurt that Canha has 14 at-bats against Fried and has a 286 batting average in those at-bats. So he definitely can get this done. These 3 picks together, which are Mark Canha, I've said his name like 6 different times in this show, I'm sorry, higher than half of a total base against the Braves. Carson Spiers of the Reds, lower than 5.0 hits allowed, and Nick Pivetta, higher than 1.5 walks allowed, put together yields a 4.5x return on your money. So let's get this one. Let's start this week off right. Let's start off hot on this Monday and get home a winning slip. And lastly, just at the end of the show, I'll sneak in a little betting talk or a little bit of underdog talk. It's just that this market really isn't up yet, or ways of attacking this market isn't exactly up yet. So I'm just going to put this out there for your listening pleasure. Braxton Garrett is on the bump for the Marlins. They are at the St. Louis Cardinals. Garrett's a lefty. The Cardinals are kind of bad against lefties, but Braxton Garrett has been so sporadic in his last few starts. I think it was 4 starts ago, the end of May, he went 9 innings, 0 earned runs against the D-backs. But, he had another solid game after that. But in his last 2 games, he's allowed 5+ earned in less than 5 innings. I think that this total at 3.5 at -115 to the over is a bit low. Sonny Gray is obviously an awesome pitcher for the Cardinals, but in his last 3 starts, he allowed a run to the Pirates, 3 runs to the Rockies, and 4 runs versus the Phillies. Obviously, the Marlins are a bad team, but they're actually pretty average against righties. They're definitely not as weak as their lefties. They're about as bad as it gets in MLB. But versus righties, they're fine. I mean, they're about league average in batting average. They're a little bit lower in BABIP, a little bit lower in WRC plus. On base is actually where they're worse against righties. That said, I just think that there's enough guys that are kind of finding their stride on this Marlins team that they can get at least 1 or 2 runs in the first inning. And then I've already talked about how I just don't trust Braxton Garrett right now. Something is off, and he might need some time. I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know what the deal is, but the Marlins don't have enough arms to really give him a break. So even if his last 2 games struggle, his last 2 start struggles have actually messed with the Marlins bullpen. So I definitely think that getting 4 runs in the first 5 innings of this game at -115 is a good spot to attack. If you can get 1.5 earned runs by Braxton Garrett on Underdog at around a normal payout, that seems good. And also if you can get over 1.5 earned runs allowed by Sonny Gray at an increased multiplier, that is going to be pretty good, because again, he has allowed more than 1 run in 2 of his last 3 starts. If you go to his 4 starts ago, he didn't allow a run in the first 5 innings, but in the 6th inning, he allowed a home run. So, I think that there's definitely chance for some of these power hitters on Marlins to do some damage. So the little betting nugget / future play, depending on what the Underdog board looks like before this game has first pitch, is that more than 3.5 earned runs in the first 5 innings in the Marlins versus Cardinals game. So that's that for the day. Again, use promo code DailyDog on Underdog Fantasy to get a $250 deposit match bonus. And also, I'll just reiterate the 3-leg slip. Nick Pivetta, higher than 1.5 walks allowed. Mark Canha, higher than half of a total base. And we are taking Carson Spiers of the Reds to allow lower than 5.0 hits against the Pirates. This is for a 4.5x payout. Lastly, rate, review, subscribe, whatever to this podcast. Let's get a winner home. And if it does, if we do get a winner, I will hopefully see some winning slips flooding into my inbox on my Twitter DMs. That's it for the day. Let's make some money.